Oh my goodness. Hey, Chad.
Hey, Jamie.
After
Call these.
20 of these, you think we're figuring this out by now.
Nah, we got to keep it interesting.
I'm so glad I wasn't picking my nose. I've been like, hey, oh, goodness. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Paranormal Lens. I'm Jamie Widener. I'll be your host tonight, along with my co-host, Chad Thomas. We are we are true professionals. Uh, goodness. Chad, what's going on? How's your week?
It's going fine. Things are picking up at work. Keeping busy. Took some time to try to go through some evidence earlier. All the fun stuff.
Those are things you squeeze in when you can, right?
Exactly.
On top of everything else. Yeah, I hear you. All right. Well, yeah, same here. A lot of busyness, and I actually took vacation days last week to get some yard projects done that I set aside all summer and spring.
Uh-huh.
Weather was a factor in the spring, and summer was just summer it goes by, and of course I picked a 95 plus degree week to be outside all day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I finally cooled off yesterday, maybe.
Did you get anything done?
I got things done. Yeah, I mean I feel good about it, but it's just like it takes. When you just let things slide, it takes longer than doing a little bit at a time. It's like how to eat the elephant, bite at a time thing. You can't just eat it all at once. So, yeah, I was trying to eat it all at once. Not good, but survived. So here we are. And in between, I had time to do some research on this episode. So,
well, that's good.
We're gonna have some fun with this. So, as you can see from the header and the title and all the promo we did all leading up to this, tonight we're going to talk about urban legends. And this is one of those things that always intrigues me, and we all know one or many of them, maybe many more than we think we know once we hear some of them I'll share. Mm-hmm. But urban legends are, according to Merriam-Webster, an often lurid story or anecdote that is based on hearsay and widely circulated as true.
Okay.
So that right away doesn't give it a whole lot of oomph as far as fact, but it is something that we tend to believe in. So urban legends usually have a couple things. One is a set of characters. There's people, something that makes it relatable, right? When it's somebody. Right. It has a plot of some kind. Something happens, some action. And they are usually passed around by word of mouth, or nowadays through the internet and social media, kind of things move faster or wider. But back in the day, it used to be me telling you, you telling them telling someone else, so on, so on, so on. So while most are fabrications that are true made up things, some are based on true and documented events with a little bit of extra added. So, and I'll get to that at the very end. I'll explain that a little bit more. Okay. So they're popular because and last so long simply because we love a good story, right? Who doesn't? And that's what we're going to talk about. A lot of stories. And many are meant to scare us into doing something maybe that we shouldn't be doing, like picking up strangers and hitchhikers, or going places alone and not telling folks where we are, or just doing bad things in general. So there's a bit of a moral in some of these stories as well. So, and some signs that what you're hearing is an urban legend. Okay. So the story happened to a friend of a friend, but never the storyteller. Like this isn't their story to tell you uniquely their own experience wise. You may have heard the same story many times before, so there's variations of it. Okay. Again, that's like a whisper down the lane moment where I start telling you this, and by the time it gets to the end of the line, it's a totally unique thing. But it still has the same thread all the way through. The general topic is about something from the news or something we might commonly gossip about. Again, that's the hook of the draw. It contains a warning or a moral lesson of some kind. And lastly, the story is too weird or possibly too true or too good to be true. Like if your college roommate commits suicide, you automatically pass all your classes, right? I remember hearing that one thinking, well, I guess I better pick a good roommate.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Knock me off. So let's, I got lots of stuff, guys. So I documented a whole bunch of stories that I found this week, and I'm going to read a bunch of them to you. So here's a lot of urban legends all at once. Okay, let's have some fun.
Okay.
So a couple of them I think we've all heard of. Bloody Mary, right? That's one I remember as a kid. It's a campfire thing kind of deal. No sleepover was ever safe from Bloody Mary. And the legend has it that to summon Mary, you must light a candle, go into a bathroom, and chant Bloody Mary at least 3 times. Although there are accounts from young girls who have supposedly had some terrifying experiences with Mary, it is generally regarded as having developed as an adolescent party game somewhere back in the 1960s and has very little basis on reality. But it's scary, right? As teenagers or youngins, we're more apt to these things. Some folks are still afraid of the dark a little bit. Some adults are too, that we know actually. But one might be listening right now. To that, it adds some extra when you have to light the candle. You have to go into a separate space by yourself. Candles flicker, all that stuff. Why it's a bathroom, I don't know, but it is. One of my favorites is the Jersey Devil, right? So, and it's a documented story. It comes from back there. The stories have been since the 1700s. The legend states that a woman named Mother Leeds became pregnant with her 13th child, that poor woman, and said, "Let this one be the devil," as it may be, as kind of a mockingly, kind of maybe anguished situation that she's in, being pregnant for the 13th time. But once the child was born, it was rumored that it grew hooves, wings, horns, and a tail, hence the devil. Now, the monster has been spotted periodically throughout the Pine Barrens regions of New Jersey, which is a really wild area still. We're in Pennsylvania, so we. Thanks, Erica. The property tax is too high, so it's here in PA, right? Have you been over our way looking at properties lately? But just like Pennsylvania has some really wild places you can get out in the middle of nowhere and be lost in, the Pine Barrens is still that area of New Jersey, underdeveloped, still very much the wooded, forested area, very dense at times. So it's theoretically possible. It has become such a big thing that even the NHL hockey team in Jersey is the New Jersey Devils. So hence the name of it. So it's pretty cool. One of the ones that I thought was interesting is the story of the Candy Lady. And, I'll get to the Candy Man in a moment. That's a totally different thing, different dude. But in the early 1900s, children in an unnamed rural town in Texas, and Erica, I know you're here somewhere, so this might be familiar, would go to children's bedroom windows and leave candy on the windowsill. And that way they find it in the morning. And, eventually through some time, she would come back and leave the candy and a note leading the children away. And once they followed the note, they would be gone. So she's kidnapping kids. Mm-hmm. So, but it was a story to scare you not to get candy from strangers, right? Because that's something we all know. One of the things that we are close to sort of here in our area is the Mothman, okay, out in West Virginia. So back in 1966, an area there was visited by an insectoid flying creature. Bright red eyes, resembled both a man and a moth. So human shape, but moth wings. Spotted around the town of Point Pleasant, along with shining lights and the Men in Black. Not Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, but real GI men. Mm-hmm. The Mothman's origins have been claimed as supernatural, alien, government experiments gone wrong. There's a lot of variations of this story as well. But Point Break, different place. Point Pleasant has embraced this and has an annual Mothman festival. So it is something pretty cool that's kind of grown out of this urban legend. One of the ones I really thought was interesting is Hell's Gate Bridge down in Alabama. So this one is one of those teen stories, like an accident happened and therefore a story came from it. But the story generally accepted is that Hell's Bridge starts with a young couple, boy and a girl, going out on a drive across this bridge, and their car goes off the edge of it and they go into the water. So now it's believed that if you drive across the bridge at a certain time and a certain time of day and so forth, you could have in your car a passenger that leaves a wet seat print on the seat for you. And the Hell's Bridge part of it comes that if you drive across the bridge and you look back over your shoulder, you will see the end of the bridge that you came from engulfed in flames, like it's the opening to hell. So quite an interesting story, but it's very believed in the Alabama area. All right, can we discuss the bus in the railroad chat? Maybe. I have a bus story actually, so we'll get to that. This one's pretty cool. The 100 Steps Cemetery, which is in Indiana. It is located in the town of Brazil, though the official address is actually disputed where it is in this town. But it's not clear. While it's not clear where the stories about the cemetery being haunted began, there are gravestones that date back to the 1860s. So this is an old area. The legend states that if someone finds themselves in the cemetery at midnight, they must climb the steps and count to 100. At this point, a ghost of the undertaker will appear and show the person the vision of their death. On the way back down, the visitor is supposed to count the steps again, and if they count the same number of steps, the vision is false. However, if they do, then it's true. People who visit the cemetery in the past have tried to outsmart the supernatural forces in 100 steps by avoiding the steps altogether, cutting up the hillside, whatnot, and they've reported being knocked or shoved to the ground by an unseen force. Intriguing. So I think we need a road trip.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right? Why not? There's a story of the Grunch, not the Grinch, because that's trademarked, right? The Grunch. Grunch Road is an old dirt road that leads deep into the woods and eventually to a dead end. It was a favorite place for teenagers to go and do whatever teenagers do until they learned about the Grunch itself. The Grunch was rumored to be a group of deformed, half human, half monsters that resulted from years of isolation in the Louisiana bayous. Hashtag inbred, right? In the present day, it's said if you find yourself on Grunch Road, don't get out of your car if you see a goat that looks injured. The stories say that the Grunch used goats to lure people out of their cars so they can eat them and drain their blood. Sounds like what a half human, half monster would do, right?
Yep.
Here's one we probably heard a variation of. The Girl on Knock Knock Road. This comes from Michigan. The legend of Knock Knock Road says that there was a little girl who was murdered on the road in the Detroit area. And now she appears to drivers at their car window knocking, trying to find the person who killed her. Okay. So again, don't stop on dark roads and middle of nowhere places. There's a story of the Cropsey. The Cropsey has a lot of iterations, but it generally tells the story of a man who stalked a sleepaway camp / psychiatric facility / children's hospital. So again, variations, right? He had a hook for a hand and killed children who were wandering alone at night. Every single person who went to camp in upstate New York has heard about the Cropsey, and every kid in my area has too, because I remember this story in different versions. There's a version of this where there is a teenage couple who are out making out in the woods kind of thing, parking, going necking, as they used to call it. And, she hears a noise scraping along the side of the car. He doesn't, and says it's nothing. It's the wind, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't let it go. So they drive off and, he goes to let her out of the car, and then they find the bloody hook hanging on the door handle, story. So a lot of variations of that one, but again, it's the don't go alone somewhere, you're going to get in trouble or some bad things will happen. The story of a bandage man. This is a bandage man of Cannon Beach. This is coming out of the Oregon area and the beaches out there. The bandage man is rumored to be the ghost of a logger who died in a sawmill accident and now terrorizes teenagers who hang out in the desert area of the highway near the beach. Stories say that he knocks on car windows to try and get in, and he smells really, really bad. Okay. That sounds like a bear, right? But, and having just been at the Red Mill recently, right? You've seen how mills operate and how mechanical things can happen. So having a sawmill accident isn't out of the realm of possibility. Having a haunting therefore makes sense. So it's plausible. Erica, here's the bus one. So the bus to nowhere. This is out of Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, there's rumored to be a bus that doesn't have an end destination. The story says that the bus only picks up passengers that are at their lowest moments who need to get away from their problems. Once the passenger is ready to face the world, they can then get off the bus. The twist is the passenger has no idea how long they've been on the bus, because it could have been days, hours, weeks, even years. So I've heard this one before, and it's quite interesting. And where do you even find this bus? But you have to be a bus rider in order to find it. So the next one, the death of Julia Legere. So this is an older story. It kind of carries on forward and forward. In the 1800s, the Legeres were well-to-do South Carolina family. The daughter, Julia, got sick and was pronounced dead and was buried inside their family mausoleum. Normal things, right? Years later, another member of the family passed along, and the remains of Julia were found outside of her coffin when they opened the mausoleum vault. Story says that she had been in a coma, woke up in her coffin, tried to escape, couldn't get out. Okay, makes sense. It's plausible. It's 1800s. You know,
Right.
science and medicine weren't very good back then. The catch here is that they cannot close the door to the mausoleum, or it will not stay closed anymore because Julia is trying to escape still. So, quite interesting. The tomb has an open door at all times. I really love this one. It's the story of Devil's Tower. And we know Devil's Tower, if you remember going back to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? This is that place out in Wyoming where the ship comes in. The big tower has all the kind of grooves in it. So the story of how the tower got its grooves, how the mountain that it is got its grooves in it. There's no scientific consensus on why Devil's Rock looks the way Devil's Tower, as they call it now, looks the way it does. But it's as a Native American creation story, it attributes the landmark shape to a tragedy. According to the story, a large group of Cheyenne girls were attacked and killed by a bear. Two escaped and found help from two boys who convinced them to climb up the hillside. And as they did, the bear pursued them. And they shot arrows. The boys shot arrows at the bear, and the bear was trying to get up. But as it was, getting shot, it was, clawing and sliding back down.
Mm-hmm.
And the claw marks are the reason the tower is grooved, or the mountain is grooved the way it is, and has its unique shape and design. Okay. So, quite an interesting way of creating, a story around a natural phenomenon. Quite a few things like that. Okay. The next one is the story of Robert Johnson. And I know Robert Johnson, so this isn't him, but it could be. So, and we've heard the variation of this somewhere before because it's been movies and so forth about him. But Mr. Johnson was a Mississippi blues singer and a songwriter who was struggling but was really talented at playing guitar. The legend is that he sold his soul to Satan at a crossroads, and in exchange for that soul, he became a miraculous and remarkable talent on the guitar and became quite famous. So, the selling of something. The devil went down to Georgia. The song, mm-hmm. So forth, the same thing. The devil's offering, something miraculous for giving up your soul. So it's trying to scare you away from evil. One that, as paranormal investigators, we all know, we've heard this story many, many times over, the Slender Man. Okay. A fictional character, I might mind you here. It was introduced as an internet meme created by a guy named Victor Surge back in 2009. It's depicted as resembling a thin, unnaturally tall man with a blank and usually featureless face wearing a black suit. The Slender Man is commonly said to stalk, abduct, and traumatize people, particularly children. Slender Man is not tied to any particular story, but appears in many works of fiction, most commonly on online forums and so forth.
Right.
So something that someone's made up in recent time that has taken off as a phenomenon. Again, this is the internet, right? Working for our favor of spreading news and information, in this case, mostly false.
Didn't David do an episode on Slender Man?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to some of that. We've actually done a couple episodes on some of these, so we'll get to that in a minute too. I mentioned the Men in Black a moment ago, but they're another urban legend, So it's a conspiracy theory claiming that there are men dressed in all black suits who claim to be government agents who harass or threaten UFO witnesses or victims of alleged alien abductions to keep them quiet about what they have or may have seen. Okay. So obviously there's been a film franchise, Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, another iteration with Chris Hemsworth. That one actually wasn't all that bad, but, didn't mm-hmm. do well. But, it's the idea that there is this whole secret society of people trying to keep a conspiracy under wraps that, aliens are among us, and which, who knows, maybe they are. Obviously, the last 6 months with all of the things that have come out from the government, and I think it's entirely plausible, right? Or did they just start a conspiracy theory?
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe. One that might be near and dear to you and I, Chad, skinwalkers, right? Mm-hmm. So, we are fans of the show Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, but this is a Native American legend claiming, coming from the Navajo culture, describes a medicine man who have become evil and able to shapeshift into animals or even other people. So, trying to understand some of the phenomenal things that might be happening. There we go, fan. The big one, right? The big one out there is Bigfoot, right? So Bigfoot is, obviously he is the all-time leader of hide and go seek, world record holder there. He's got a lot of other names in a lot of other places, though. And just domestically, in Arkansas, he's the Boggy Creek Monster. In Missouri, he's Momo the Monster, and in Florida, he's known as a skunk ape. So, Bigfoot is its own phenomenon. There's a gazillion things out there about him. We have our own version here, and I'll get to that in a moment, in South Central Pennsylvania as well. But Bigfoot is one that everybody knows a story about somebody seeing him, or
Right.
we know a show about it. We know some information about it. It's pretty cool. So there's a couple things we've already covered here on Paranormal Lens. One episode that I did, the Bell Witch, in Tennessee. That is a folklore legend from the 1800s, where Farmer John Bell Sr. and his family in the local area supposedly came under attack from a mostly invisible entity that was able to speak and affect physical environment around them, shapeshift, all located in Robertson County, Tennessee. A fantastic story, but realistically one that's not plausible nor really believable, in the sense that there was this entity that had normal conversations with his whole family through the course of 4 or 5 years, and meant to do harm and ill toward Mr. Bell himself, and took a fancy to his wife. And he was eventually, when he died, it appears he may have been poisoned. So it's quite a fantastic story, but not necessarily one that was ever based in documented fact. And an episode that David did on black-eyed children. Okay, so another urban legend is supposedly paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 with pale skin and black eyes, who reportedly seen hitchhiking or panhandling, either way, and or are counted at doorsteps of residential homes. They'll come and knock on your door, ring your bell, and ask to come in. Tales of the children have appeared in pop culture since somewhere back in the 1990s. So this is a fairly recent one as well, but one that has some phantasm to it that has let it stick to us. And in the 1990s or beginning of the internet, right, as we know it. So something that took off pretty well. There are a few here that are local to us here in South Central Pennsylvania. The first one is the 7 Gates to Hell. And this is one that I know Jerry and Melissa have some experience with, because they went out to try to find, or did find it, the area. But it's a modern urban legend regarding a location in York County, Pennsylvania. So just one county over from us. It's probably about 15 minutes from where we are right now. There are 2 versions. One is involving a burnt insane asylum, and the other is an eccentric doctor. Either way, both tales agree that there are 7 gates around in a wooded area in the area that's called Hellam Township, Pennsylvania, for that matter. And anyone who passes through all 7 gates goes directly to hell. So what is that? That tells me that's a no trespassing story, right?
Yep.
And of course, then it becomes a dare.
Yeah, so. Of course. and there is I don't know if they're still around, but there was a 7 Gates brewery that did it.
There still is. Absolutely. It's in Lancaster now.
Yep.
It was down in the Conestoga area. They moved up to the city, Lancaster City. Yep. And our dear friends are going to host a festival here very soon, but on the Twitch, which is a variation on Bigfoot, much smaller. So we'll call him Smallfoot. He's about 4 feet tall. He's been seen for probably since back in the 1800s. So 200 and some years of stories around him. Uh-huh. It's a PA Dutch word that means apple snitcher. So he likes apples. He is about 4 feet tall. He's furry and he has green or yellow eyes. I'm sorry. He's said to throw apples at people. Hey, there's our guy. And the reason it's near and dear to us is there is an annual Twitch Festival, or Twitch Day Festival, which is coming up on October 14th here in Columbia, PA at our river park from 11 to 5. And we will be there as a team hanging out that day. If anybody wants to come in and share some of the stories about any of this good stuff, you're welcome to come and join us. And it's also a fun, festive day. Lots of cool stuff going on down to River Park. So that is a lot of stuff, right? But there's one more. And this one I found really interesting. So, everything so far has been works of fiction, or mostly, largely fictional stories. But there's one that actually has some basis in truth. And I found it very fascinating because I didn't think about this, and I didn't know anything about this until I started reading through it. But it's the Candyman. Okay? We all know Candyman, right? There's movies back in the 90s. There was a big movie, probably a few follow-ups to it since then, all direct to video, I'm sure, as it goes. Even video doesn't even exist anymore, direct to stream now. But this one, the facts of this are kind of scary. So It's loosely based on the death of a woman named Ruthie Mae McCoy, who was a mentally challenged individual living alone in Chicago's South Side. She had an apartment by herself. On April 27th of 1987, Ruthie calls 911 and claims that someone from the next door apartment is trying to, as she said, throw down the bathroom mirror. The 911 operator is confused by this and doubts her credibility, thinking she's crazy. Okay, how is that going to happen? The fact, though, is that the apartment building that she lived in had passageways between the apartments that was for the maintenance people to work on. It's where the pipes and all the ducts and everything were. And that area was found by criminals and commonly used to break into apartments by simply pushing through the bathroom mirror into the bathroom and climbing through. Okay. So Ruthie wasn't wrong, right? So the problem is, that no one responded. And the neighbors heard gunshots. They also called the police. The police arrived, and as it was, and as it probably still is, they didn't break down her door because they didn't want to get sued. So they contacted the superintendent of the building. The superintendent didn't show up for 2 days. And when he did, entering with a key, they found Ruthie dead on the floor, gunshot wounds. So if you recall in the movie, and if you haven't seen Candyman, I don't know if we can. If you haven't seen it, I don't think we can be friends. That's just honest. It's a classic. You got to go watch it. I don't like horror movies. I'm not a fan. This one I remember vividly. It was awesome. But the first confirmed victim is Ruthie Jean in the movie, and she was killed by someone who came through her bathroom mirror. So they gave some props to the situation there. And now that I've said all of that, I double dog dare each and every one of you to go in your bathroom and turn off the lights and say Candyman 5 times in the mirror. I'll wait. Cool. Go ahead. We got time.
I'm going to stay here. I got to make sure.
I'm busy. I'm sorry. I'm on the air. So I threw a lot of stuff there in like 20 minutes, right? So, but the point is, there is so much stuff out there. And the stories never end. There's just tale after tale after tale, and that we all know something about one or the other. And you can loosely say some nursery rhymes, even like "Step on a crack, break your mother's back."
Right.
That fits the line of all of this as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it all very fascinating because we love a good story,
mm-hmm.
and and it's easy. It's easy to share these kind of things because it's a wow factor in it too. Like, oh, that's a great story, and you draw a crowd to it, and then it gets shared down the line. So, no. What do you think, Chad?
Well, I mean, we all know a bunch of these stories because Amanda actually made a comment here that is similar to one of your stories about the teenagers while out parking, necking, whatever. And the girl is afraid, so she sends the boyfriend out. She stays in the car, and finds him dead. Then I had actually heard this version of that story too. So, and I think it's one of those that like my dad told me when I was
because it's great, scaring you straight.
Exactly.
Well, I will say this real quick. I
think Tim went and did your mirror thing.
Oh, all right. Thanks, Tim. Glad you made it back. I will say this: I skipped a lot of them that were pretty gory, too.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the finding kids hung in trees and stuff, like just again drifting off alone in the woods. Bad things happen immediately. A lot of what sounds to me a lot like serial killers and stalkers out there. In our current terms. But kids and people going alone places, are very, very common not to make it back.
Right.
And adding on to it.
And
that's not how it works.
It's funny that Tim and Erica both said this. I remember in elementary school, it was you would if you went to the certain bathroom on the certain floor, turned off the lights, said Bloody Mary, and turned around 3 times, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, even in 3rd grade, we were hearing these urban legends. And
well, there's one that if you go to a certain room in a school and you say the kid's name, you call a kid's name, a ghost appears of a kid who was bullied and beaten up after school and died.
Uh-huh.
Why it's this room in a school after he passed off the property, like I don't get that,
Right.
but it's said to be his place, and
Mhm.
again, why does anyone haunt a certain place? That's what we all want to know as investigators. Why are
Right.
you here? But it's believed it's somewhere in Indiana. It's kind of interesting. It wasn't catchy enough, but I thought it was pretty cool. And it's an abandoned building now, so it's not an active space by any means.
Hmm. There's another local one that I know you forgot about.
Yeah,
There's the cemetery, full moon, walk around
yeah.
it so many times. I think we were actually challenged by David to go do that with him at some point.
He has done it, and he
He's
didn't
done
tell us he was going that last time. So,
right.
but yes, that's something we got to do as well. It is Van. My gosh, I'm drawing a blank. But it's here in Lancaster County, pretty close by.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Pop Rocks and Coke, you know it.
Yep. Yeah, the stranger calling from inside the house, drying the dog in the microwave. Yep, they're all out there.
Wait, what was it? Drying the dog? Did you say drying a dog in a microwave?
Yeah, the lady trying to drag her dog in the microwave, and it exploded.
Sorry, that's not funny for the dog, but what?
I'm not sure about this one. Siren Head,
I'm not sure what that one is, Tim. Tell me more.
and yeah. Erica said they made a movie out of the stranger in the house. Yeah.
Yep. That was there was a movie back, and I joke about this all the time. I grew up with an uncle who didn't seem to understand that we were kids. So he had 4 kids of his own and me as an extra, kind of thing going along with him. But we got to go see a lot of movies. This allowed me to see Star Wars in 1977 in the theater as a very little guy. So I'm happy with part of that. But it also let me see a movie called When a Stranger Calls. And it was the same story of the stranger in the house. And this is back in the day when phones were on lines and you could make a call from within the house. And this guy was stalking a woman, and led up to him being home. A cop was trying to save her, and eventually did at the end. But it was that psychological thriller. But as like an 8-year-old, it scared the hell out of me. And I didn't want to be home alone ever. And I was always afraid when the phone rang. Jumped every time, for quite a while after that. So it was some trauma.
Okay, I did a quick search for what Siren Head is.
Okay,
and I can't.
Jim.
It's the sirens, the sirens on a pole.
Okay.
That have turned into a monster, I think. And without watching these videos, it's
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it's.
It is Erica. I recognize it right away because I'm traumatized still by it, apparently. I thought of something today, and I was talking to a coworker about this episode. Some guys I work with or tune in as well, or at times anyway, pop in. And I said, I'm wondering what somebody would think if they come and look at my search history. And I'm sure you could say the same. Some of the stuff we look up to do these episodes, it gets a little strange and a little bit rabbit trail. But it's all meant in good fun. But oh my gosh, I got to start deleting stuff. Well, that's what I got, guys. So I think urban legends are part of our culture. It's threaded into us in so many different ways that we probably don't even always realize that. Yeah, exactly. Even if it's meant the nicest way. Oh wait. Backseat. Well, there's another variation of this one where there is a woman driving alone, and a car behind her that's following is flashing its headlights at her, and high beams and so forth, because it can see someone in the backseat pop up and she can't. So it's trying to signal her. And of course, she's terrified by the driver behind her and doesn't stop. And then goes on to wherever she ends and ends, quite literally. So, it again, variations, stories transfer in different ways. All right, so I think we're never going to get out of urban legends, and I don't ever want to, for that matter. These are great stories. They all have some fun in them. There is gazillions and gazillions more of them than obviously I have time or even the energy to research and bring into this. So I didn't do justice to the full vision. I didn't even look outside the U.S. because obviously there's gazillions of them around the world as well, and then some are really, really cool. It's just so much fun, and we could do a bunch of episodes on these, and I got some ideas for things that I may want to do later on, as we've already covered some of these in more detail and depth. So probably some of it will pop back into our narrative as we go along. It's almost unavoidable at this point.
Right.
Well, Dracula, right? Great story, a good book. But there's some basis in fact in old history too that says this could have happened. Gosh, we hope not. For the actual veracity of this guy, but the truth of the truth is not dictated in Bram Stoker's classic novel for what this historical person was, but it's based on some truth and some fact of the era that was documented. So, yes,
right.
Vlads are cool. So, it's really cool, and we could go on and on and on and on. So, but we also have to go. So, any thoughts to this, Chad? Before we go, anybody else? Any last thoughts before we move into the close?
I mean, I agree with you. We can't ever lose the urban legends. It's part of life. It's part of teaching lessons.
Yeah.
I think it is an important part because that it's what sticks in your head. It's like, oh well, you don't want to do that, or no. So yeah, that's it's I don't want to compare it to religion, but it's the same way that religion makes you remember things for certain other parts of life. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I thought of this just then too. Morals are there's great moral stories out there, like Aesop's fables all have morals, right? But if you look at the original fables, they're quite dark and really not what we've softened for our children of today. The original tales are pretty morbid, and they almost always end in death and dismemberment. Because it's meant to scare the crap out of you. And fair enough, right? But we change these stories sometimes because we can't tell them all in open audience. Some things we can't tell our kids, or some things we can't tell our parents. Vice versa. So that's why it's really cool that they keep the whisper down the lane element applies, and there's different variations because a story can be told so many different ways, and this is entertainment. So there's so many different versions of a movie, or a song. Somebody's cover of a classic. It's still very good today that you would like. So here we are.
It looks to me in the chat like Erica and Amanda are going to start their own podcast and do
I
this.
think so. I think I just saw that. Urban Legends. There it is.
There you go, guys. I think we'll help you get started.
Yeah, we know what to do now. We're professionals, so go for it.
Did you see the beginning of the show, Jamie? Did you?
Whatever that was. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my.
You were supposed to push the button. That's all I'm saying.
You got to have fun with it.
You do, you guys, and this is fun, guys. Thanks for everybody for watching us. We I say this every week, and I mean it. I really mean it. This is something I look forward to doing, and I appreciate y'all coming along for the ride. Thanks for hanging out with us. We wouldn't be here without y'all.
Yeah.
Well, we might be. I don't know. We get to sit and talk all night, but
it would get lonely. I mean,
it would.
So, speaking of that, moving forward, next week I'm thinking about doing St. Albans Sanatorium.
Ooh,
I know you haven't been there, Jamie. I went down with the team last year, so I'm going to try to pull that together. We've been playing with the time a little bit. I think we're going to shift to 9:00 because 9:30 was a little late for us.
Yeah.
8:30 is rushing around trying to get stuff done, so I think we're going to shift to 9:00, everybody. So look for us then. So next week, St. Albans Sanatorium. I've got some pictures from the trip, and
Cool. I've lived vicariously through the team twice now, right, from being down there. So I'm really looking forward to getting my own opportunity there, but I'm really looking also forward to hearing more about it. Every time we talk about it, it gets better, as far as the experience. So very cool. Good choice, Chad. I'm looking forward to this one.
All right, great.
Fantastic.
And you do, there's certain things there you don't mess with, because we can talk to David about that, and so anyway. Oh, I appreciate that. Erica's going to look through their footage, and if they want to
send it over
stuff, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Send it to Chad.
Yep.
He knows what to do with it. Just doesn't know when to push the button.
Oh my. So upcoming stuff for the team. September 30th, National Ghost Hunting Day. We're going to be at Booby's Brewery. Jamie, rumor is
back.
You're going to be back with us. Great. Looking forward to that. Everybody has missed you. Then into October, the 7th, we have a public investigation at the brewery. The 14th is the Albatwitch Festival in Columbia that you were talking about.
Yep.
We'll be there at River Park all day. I don't know if the whole team will be there all day, but throughout the day, we'll be there. The 21st, we're back at the brewery. The 26th, you can find us at Columbia's Mardi Gras Halloween Parade. We've been
in the parade.
In the parade. Yep, we've been in it for 2 years, and I believe we've taken our division. We've won our division twice now.
2-time defending champions.
This year, the theme, you got to think this one through, is Wide World of Sports, Jamie.
Yeah, this is going to be great.
Sports ball.
Sports ball, I know.
So we'll see. And then, we're in November. We've got 2 investigations in November and 2 in December. So we're it's hard to believe we're saying we're getting close to the end of the year already.
Yeah,
but
it does. It's not right.
So,
but we look forward to spooky season, so it makes it all good.
Yep, we're there. So, yeah. So, hey, if anybody's doing investigations over the spooky weekend, let us know what you're doing. We'd love to hear about things going on. We might be trying to set something up. We're still working that one through. And then we'll maybe report back once we figured that out. Let's see what else are all our normal places to find us: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. You found us on YouTube, possibly to watch the show. But yeah, TikTok's really picking up. Like you said before, our team, our social media team is doing a good job getting stuff on there.
They really are.
I know they're promoting us on there. I see that every now and then. So
they like us. They really like us.
So, any final thoughts?
No, thanks for the episode tonight, Chad, and your input as well. I had so much fun researching this, and I spent way too much time reading through all these urban legends. So, and please feel free to drop, if you got one, drop it in here. We review this obviously too, or touch base with us on another episode. It could be something we do a whole episode on. So, let us know. Keep in touch. If you got other topics you want us to discuss, we're open and available. So,
and if you ever want to touch base with us, hit our Facebook page in the chat. The whole team monitors that. We can get back to you. It's probably the easiest way to get a hold of us. So
absolutely. So okay, well, another one in the book, sir.
Yeah. So
thanks everybody for watching tonight, and whenever you find us later in the week and whatnot. We hope to see you next time. And until then, stay spooky.
All right. Thanks, everybody.